welcome as others come on. That's great to see. As I was mentioning, it's probably going to be, I know it's going to be a smaller gathering, but as always, I just trust that who's here it's for who's here. I just trust all that. So, just a review of kind of what we do in format of this gathering. I'll have a few brief comments. Hopefully they're brief. And just a heads up, the handout I sent you, we are not going to read hardly, like just a few of those. So anything that's in that handout that you want to read later, if that helps, great. But just to know that this is not going to be a lot about me reading. And then we're going to have our 15 meditation time together. And then we'll have some time that we can share about where we are. And I look forward to that part particularly. Well, I look forward to this whole thing with y'all. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Last time we got together, we talked about the in-between time between Christmas and Epiphany, Day of Epiphany, which was yesterday. Yay. And that's the day when the wise men showed up with their gifts for baby Jesus. So we've gone through that period of time, and also the period of between years. You know, we kind of looked at that. But then last time we also talked about the experience of being in between times personally, between like maybe decisions or seasons, or and we talked about a reading from the Cloud of Unknowing, and that opened us up to looking at the things in our life right now that are unknown, and we kind of explored that together. Today, from that same book, I am pulling another passage, another reference to that from the Cloud of Unknowing book. It's called The Cloud of Forgetting, which just, blows my mind. I love the Cloud of Forgetting, even though it's kind of abstract. But this is also from this text that is, written anonymously at mid 1300s to late 1300s, and we're just going to step right on into that first reading about the Cloud of Unknowing. The Cloud of Forgetting. So this is kind of what we're going to be looking at today. Okay, so you'll see in your handout, there's two passages there. I'm just reading the first one today. To the cloud of unknowing above you and between you and your God, add the cloud of forgetting beneath you, between you and creation. If the cloud of unknowing makes you feel alienated from God, that's only because you've not yet put a cloud of forgetting between you and everything in creation. When I say everything in creation, I mean not only the creatures themselves, but also everything they do and are, as well as the circumstances in which they find themselves. There are not exceptions. You must forget everything. Hide all created things, material and spiritual, good and bad, under the cloud of forgetting. And I just, I'm just drawn to this idea that these were written, in the 1300s, and from, reportedly he is either a monk or a priest, and he's talking about the aspiration to be able to forget. And for me, that slips into part of what I want to practice in my meditation time, where I can walk into meditation for a period of time and leave behind my thinking, my thoughts of yesterday, my regrets, my resentments, my planning, for a period of time that I can step into this cloud of forgetting and just sit in the presence of love. That's how, when I read, you must forget everything, hide all created things, material and spiritual, good and bad, under the cloud of forgetting. I just open that up as an invitation for us. And it's not, this idea of forgetting it's not a new idea, and it's all over the place. In our Christian teachings, we know it's about forgive and forget. for the purpose of bringing us to the now is one way to look at it, for the purpose of having new life, rebirth, fresh life. In 12-step, we practice living one day at a time, which means forgetting yesterday, forgetting about tomorrow, trying to practice the principle of living one day at a time, just today, just this moment. And so in January 1, there was reading from one of the 12-step readers that I'm going to share with you. And this is a reading that I think points to how much opportunity we have when we look at just living in one day. And it's under the 24 hours a day in the handout. And this was from January 1, which was, great for this in-between time in the new year. I will make each day one a preparation for better things ahead. I will not dwell on the past or the future. Only on the present I will bury every fear of the future, all thoughts of unkindness and bitterness, all my dislikes, my resentments, my sense of failure, my disappointment in others and in myself, my gloom and my despondency. I will leave all these things buried and go forward into this new year, into a new life. So, also another example of forgetting is in our 12-step practice, we practice the work of self-examination, which is not unique to 12-step recovery, but the work of self-examining, doing our personal inventories, amending, and then turning to service to others. Forgetting, leaving that, forgetting it, and turn to service. And, I couldn't help but remember the prayer of St. Francis, where the line in the prayer of St. Francis is, "For it is by self-forgetting that one finds." So this idea of forgetting and living, aspiring to live in the cloud of forgetting is not so abstract when I sit back and think about how does that inspire me to live in the now? Which brings me, I think, for me, this is where the Buddhist teachings help me. And the practices of practicing mindfulness. I think what I have been practicing and learning from more Eastern traditions and teachings is this sense of mindfulness, meaning the practice of not fighting against having thoughts, in my meditation time. That's a place to practice it, but that, with practice that extends out to our life. But in the meditation practices, the idea is welcoming that we're going to have monkey mind, but the idea of what do we do when those thoughts come. And in the Christian traditions and teachings, contemplative work, we have centering prayer, where we are gentle with ourselves and remembering that in our time with God, in our contemplative time with our higher power, our Creator, that we can, when we find ourselves distracted, we can gently remind ourselves of the word that we have chosen that connects us with our higher power. So that's the idea of noticing the distraction, noticing that we are thinking about something other than the now, and inviting the word. And that same practice can be used in the mindfulness practices, where Pema Chodron, I think she makes it the simplest. Let me just jump down to what she makes it very simple when she just invites simplifying the response to when we are thinking in meditation as simply mindfully and compassionately saying, thinking. When we slip into moving away into resentments, worries, concerns, or even good positive things. I mean, I can, in my contemplative time or my meditation time, I can get into one of these creative things, and that's lovely. But for the purpose of practicing space where I'm not thinking, that's where I can just simply and gently say the word mindfully, thinking, and then return to my breath. And the practice of this, for me, this is why I do love connecting with you all. Every time I can practice this in sitting silent with my presence of love, and when I have opportunity with y'all, but holding it as a time to practice returning to my breath and not thinking, that can then extend out to the rest of my life outside of meditation. So it's like, the practice we do in the gym, the weights well, I don't go to the gym, but the people who go to the gym, what they're doing in the gym, they're not, that's carrying out of the gym into their life. It's making it's easier for them to ride that bike. So it's meditation and contemplative mindfulness is not just about what happens then. It also informs and influences the rest of our time. So I present, the invitation to, in our 15 minutes time today, that we might practice with gentleness, noticing when we're not forgetting. And in our comfort, to either call upon the word that we have in mind that brings us a greater connection to our God and of our understanding, or to notice the breath, or to just use the word, just use the word thinking, and then to let it go. But the key to all this is do every bit of this. Well, I'm going to say, this is my take on it. Entering with the presence of love. Then setting the intention to be still for 15 minutes. And in that time to be gentle with yourself. That's it. And then we'll come back together and visit. So I'm going to share one more reading, and then I'm going to walk us into some meditation. I think my bell will be, I think you'll be able to hear the bell when we start, 15 minutes. And I'll ring the bell when we come out of a 15-minute meditation. So I'm just very grateful you're all here. And so as I say, the next reading I'm going to read is the second paragraph about the cloud of forgetting. And then we'll go into meditation. Okay. The cloud of forgetting. Don't be surprised. Once you experience the truth of my words, you'll understand. When grace helps you grasp this fact, you'll agree with me. You'll never see anything very clearly in this life, but you can certainly grope. You can certainly, the word is grope. In the text is grope. Grope your way toward God in love and longing. Then enter that cloud. What I mean is, let God's love draw you to Him, God. His kindness will teach you how to forget everything else. And so if you'll just get comfortable in your seat, I'm going to say a few words to kind of walk into meditation, then I'll ring the bell, and then I'll ring the bell when we're 15 minutes in meditation. Okay. You may want to take a few moments to notice your breath. This lifelong life force has been with you from the day you were born and is still filling your lungs today, still carrying life-giving air and blood to your heart right now. This breath, as it is, shallow or deep, long or short, rhythmic or syncopated, is yours, uniquely, life-givingly yours. Take a few moments to notice this miraculous breath. In this time, you may want to recognize, thank, and call upon the God of your understanding to meet you, to be with you, and to support you in this time of stillness. You may wish to practice the cloud of forgetting, the thoughts or worries of yesterday and tomorrow. You may want to practice mindfulness. And when you notice you are thinking, call upon your centering word, then breathe. When you notice you are thinking, gently label it as thinking, then let it go and breathe. You may want to simply be present to your breath and the seat upon which you sit right now. Enjoy this. Whatever your practice, return as you can to your breath when thoughts become too big. And as you can, answer all with gentle compassion for yourself. This is your time of silence, alone with your most holy self, yet accompanied by the love and friendship of others. I'll ring the bell once to begin and 3 times at the conclusion of our practice. Let us begin now.